video, I'm going to be philosophizing on reasoning by contrast, and meaningfully so, as we can develop great knowledge, access to knowledge, wealth springs of knowledge that are expanding, expansory capacities intrínseco para mente e corpo, instanciações originário de auto conduz. Self develops from prior existing created meanings, having developed meaning processes which we can draw on to be able to comprehend the currents, meaningful utterances of thought stream through consciousness, in which we can develop meaningful interpretations with regards to existing priors of light and dark, and what properties are inferred easier to access knowledge regarding light and not dark, as we develop more meaningful understandings of light, such as the sun illuminates the surrounds, near and far self, in which there is an external surroundings, and the environment lights up, it's illuminated, and we have illuminação, sabimento, enlightenment knowledge that is luminous, in which we can see with our own eyes things at well-defined visual resolution, but aren't well-defined in regards to those calibratory sound bites processed through meaningful utterances of thought. Transcriptions of meaningful information are being passagewayed throughout the nervous system in regards to the conducts of the dynamical mind, near and far, the translational process, and that is the capacity to convert meaningful information or translate that meaningful information from the external surrounding environment in regards to meaning that's being processed into meaningful information that's being interpreted through sensors that are our sensory experiences, in which there are preceptors in which we constitute the original meaning interpretations that are unique to us, which differ from others, and which we can develop into more objective knowledge as we can approximate the syllable sound bites that are compounding meaningful information in association with words that are sounded out from those syllables that are the sound bite component parts and processes that we can use to associate new meanings from the level of semantic processes and behaviors that allow us to be able to more meaningfully access knowledge in regards to existing meaning interpretations that we can think up in regards to ideas that we've developed through ideational processes. And ideational processes engage the imaginal, which allows us to imagine various properties that exist and make predictions from inferences, and which allows us to deepen our perspectival meaning processes in regards to creating meaning, creatively engaging the imaginal, in which we can constitute knowledge regarding meaningful information from priors, as we're able to access memories about light and dark. Light being, again, from the sun. We know it's warm and associated with heat, and color has temperature to it, and it allows us to experience different feely-wheelies that are worthwhile, and they tend to also be able to allow us to render through inferences more meaningful knowledge, as we're able to constitute meaning more effectively and efficiently from meaningful as a must be good enough and necessarily necessary conditions constituting meaning calibratory to meaning interpretations in association with words and prior existing experiences regarding existing properties, and also predicted properties, in which we develop capacities to reason in regards to what X means, and being able to not just know what X means, but to be able to infer properties regards to X that's composed of specific sub-propositions that compose the propositions into truth statements that are being processed through meaningful utterances of thought, in which we engage a validation psychological process internally in regards to valid and psychologically true meaningful constitute meaning interpretations into meaningful utterances of thought that allow us to access our capacity to access knowledge meaningfully and think rationally in regards to our capacity to reason meaningfully from contrasts. So we know that in darkness, if everything was purely dark, we wouldn't be able to perceive color. It would be impossible to perceive color. So to be able to perceive any color, you have to have light. And also to be able to engage a visual process, there needs to be some light source too. To be able to enter the aperture of the eye, which is a hole in the eye that light enters. And there is an entre mente corpo connection in which there's an exchange of meaningful information moving entre the mind and body that allows for these transcriptions of meaningful information from preceptors to the precepts of self, in which we can develop inferences meaningfully in regards to contrast. And there tends to be associativities associated with particular connective associativities communicative of meaningful information in regards to the dynamical mind operating what are these transactions between mind and nervous system, which is bodily and pertains to the corporeal, as well to incorporealities. Incorporealities being more pertaining to the conscious and subconscious processes that are, for lack of a better term, immaterial and pertain to the compositional substances of existence that have both a material and immaterial association, which we're getting that from corporeal processes of the body, and also the corporeal functional structures of the mind, in which we are operating dynamically. So, for example, there's certain areas of the brain that are associated directly with our mind's functions, such as the limbic systems responsible for a great portion of meaningful emotions in pretty much every single emotion, though it requires to have top-down and also bottom-up, but predominantly top-down influences, which are these higher order cognizings of meaningful emotion in regards to how we feel and creating meaningfulness associated with specific affects. So they're not meaningless affects, they're meaningful affects if they're engaging a top-down process, which is going to increase heat to different regions of the brain. And heat and cold are other properties which we can reason by contrast regards. We are drawn towards the heat and we seek to mitigate or reduce the dangers and risks of the cold, though we enjoy cooling when things get too hot to be able to maintain a golden range of temperatures that's coolophilic. And the coolophilic range is also associated with various colors. So there's various colors that allow us to make predictions regarding existing properties and also predicted properties of meaningful information in regards to the self and surrounds, such as water being blue and cool. Water cools us, and blue's typically associated with what's cool. Same with when we look at the sky, there's a reflection refracted from a bounce between various air molecules and molecules of hydrogen within the water and oxygen molecules in the sky, that you get this blue sort of refreshing look to it. And refreshing even has a sort of sentiment of cool and associations with these light blues and blues that are bound to it. And when you think of a wind blowing by, it typically tends to be something that cools us, right? And what's a color that's associated with hot? You can probably guess. Orange, red, yellow. What color is fire? Orange, red, yellow. These are reasoning by contrast, and we're creating associations through contrast because we know light and dark, there's color in between, right? Heat and cold, various temperatures and cooling exists between that. Same with heating. Hotness, coldness, coolness, right? These are ways we can deepen meaningful emotions as well, because meaningful emotions tend to be associated with various temperatures and the weather conditions of consciousness. Though I'll get more into that in another video, and we'll be publishing a blog post soon on that. So I hope you have an awesome one, and keep on developing those meaningfulnesses.